Hey everyone, let's just dive right into this explainer and talk about a highly relatable, honestly kind of funny quirk of the human mind. Why we are constantly imagining completely fake scenarios. I mean, if you've ever felt like your brain is running a 24/7 movie studio in the background of your life, you are absolutely not alone. Today we're unpacking this everyday habit, specifically looking at how it ties into the way we process our social world and how our imagination actually becomes a tool to control social anxiety. So let me ask you this right off the bat. Have you ever caught yourself having a wildly detailed, full-blown conversation with someone who isn't even in the room? Maybe you're washing your hair in the shower or walking down the street or just lying in bed staring at the ceiling at night. And out of nowhere, your mind sets up this incredibly vivid scene. You're delivering an absolute Oscar-worthy monologue to win an argument from 3 days ago. Or you're flawlessly explaining a complex point. Or maybe you're just picturing this future moment where everything finally goes your way. Now, the absolute wildest part about this experience, and I really want to validate this for you right now, is that while the scene is entirely made up, the emotions you're feeling, they are 100% genuine. Whether it's a sudden rush of excitement, the heat of anger, a spike in anxiety, or just this profound wave of relief, your body is literally feeling the effects of a conversation that exists strictly inside your own head. Which brings us to Section 1, Conversations That Never Happened. So why exactly do these completely made-up scenarios hold so much power over us? Well, it's because your brain essentially treats these imaginary situations almost exactly like real lived experiences. Seriously, think about the last time you vividly imagined a stressful scenario. Your heart rate actually changes, your emotions react just as they would in real time, and your entire physical body responds. It is a full-body physiological experience, and the whole shebang is triggered by a completely fake scenario constructed by your mind. Moving right along to Section 2, the mental simulation machine. The incredible psychological machinery running this everyday habit is what psychologists call mental simulation. Basically, it's your brain's continuous process of running background simulations of possible situations, acting as a mental rehearsal space for your life. So quick disclaimer here. If you find yourself doing this constantly, it does not mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're losing it. It actually just means your brain is highly active. In fact, it's one of the core reasons we humans are so incredibly good at planning ahead. But, there is a distinct difference in how this mental simulation gets applied. Professional athletes or public speakers use this intentionally, right? They visualize their exact performance before a big event. But for a lot of us, it turns into this automatic loop. The simulation system boots up even when it's not strictly necessary. Your brain is just quietly running daily possibilities in the background while you're doing something completely mundane, like washing the dishes. Here is the crucial takeaway. The mind is usually trying to resolve something emotionally. People who frequently imagine fake scenarios aren't just doing it for pure entertainment or just to pass the time on a commute. No, their mind is quietly trying to tie up loose ends, resolving unfinished conversations, making sense of past interactions, or trying to soothe active anxiety about something coming up in the future. Let's look at Section 3, 3 types of scenarios. Researchers have found that these mental rehearsals generally fall into one of 3 common patterns: argument scenarios, future success scenarios, and worst-case scenarios. As we go through these, try to figure out which mental loop you're most guilty of running. First up, argument scenarios. This is an absolute classic. It's when you imagine explaining yourself, fiercely defending a point, or finally winning an argument. This almost always stems from a real conversation you had earlier in the day that you desperately wish had gone differently. So in your imagination, you give yourself a do-over. You get to deliver the absolute perfect comeback. Second, we have future success scenarios. This is where you catch yourself imagining a huge achievement, finally getting the recognition you deserve, or proving yourself to people who doubted you. Now, don't get me wrong, this can feel incredibly motivating and give you a great quick burst of dopamine, but psychologists do note that it can also very easily slip into a form of mental escape, where you end up substituting real, hard-earned achievements with, well, imagined glory. And then there's the third pattern, worst-case scenarios. This is where your mind jumps straight to disastrous negative outcomes and furiously tries to prepare responses before anything even happens. It's the classic, what if they misunderstand me? What if I fail completely? What if literally everything goes wrong? Your brain starts building up this heavy armor for situations and arguments that might never actually occur in reality. That leads us nicely into Section 4, social anxiety and control. This is really the core of this whole habit. When you look closely at people who do this frequently, you find a very specific common thread. They spend a massive amount of time analyzing social situations and worrying about how other people perceive them. And honestly, it's not because they're self-obsessed or desperately seeking attention. It's because their brain is constantly trying to process social interactions safely. They share this quiet, intense desire for control, and they're using these imaginary conversations as a tool to manage their social anxiety. This comparison perfectly illustrates why the brain relies on this habit so much. Think about it. In your imagination, you are in total control. You say the perfect thing, people respond exactly the way you want them to, the outcomes are highly predictable, and above all, it just feels safe. But real life, human interactions are incredibly messy. Outcomes are entirely unknown and sometimes downright chaotic. The brain uses imagination as a coping mechanism precisely because it offers a highly controlled, safe version of events that reality simply cannot guarantee. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, when imagination replaces reality. I really want to emphasize that imagination itself is absolutely not the problem here. In fact, it is literally one of the most powerful, healthy tools your brain possesses. It's exactly what helps human beings plan ahead, create amazing art, and solve complex daily challenges. We absolutely need it to understand and navigate the world around us. The issue only rears its head when imagination completely replaces action, because true, actual growth, that happens in reality, not in simulations. This mental habit becomes actively problematic when those perfectly crafted, safe imagined scenarios start feeling more satisfying to you than messy real-world interactions. You know it's a problem when you stop putting yourself out there simply because the simulation in your head is just way easier to deal with. So I want to leave you with this direct question to kind of chew on. Is your imagination helping you prepare for your life, or is it quietly turning into a place to hide from it? Recognizing this critical tipping point between helpful mental simulation and emotional avoidance is honestly the first major step in making sure that you are controlling your social anxiety rather than letting it control you. To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with this truly powerful thought. The mind is incredibly good at creating stories, but the most important experiences in your life will always happen outside of them. The most meaningful, transformative moments in your life are the messy, beautiful ones that your imagination could never fully predict. So next time you catch yourself winning an imaginary argument, maybe ask yourself, what real conversation are you avoiding? Thanks so much for joining me, and keep exploring how your mind works.